Today, Lori's making Parmesan crusted pork tenderloin, and Senator Altman educates on his view of the school system. It's all right now on Live with Lori.
Hey, welcome back. It's Live with Lori, and we're here today with Senator Thad Altman. We're cooking a Parmesan and crusted pork with cheese grits, and we're getting ready to put the grits in, and we're going to let them start cooking, and we're going to get to the pork. But when we left off last time, we were talking about education, and I know that's near and dear to your heart with your wife being a teacher. You're on the committee for K through 12 education.
And actually, higher ed and higher ed appropriation. So I'm on three very important education committees. So it's a big part of my life.
What are some of the big issues besides the funding that are facing our schools right now?
Well, obviously, funding is always an issue. There's never enough money for our kids. We've done a very good job funding education in the state of Florida, especially this last year where we put in an additional $1 billion. So we've really been good about funding education. A big issue is accountability, tenure for teachers, measuring student performance. Those are all, FCAT, I always hear something about the FCAT when I go places. Probably those issues have been the hottest issues in the K through 12. Higher ed, Bright Futures. You know, Bright Futures has been trimmed, and college is becoming more expensive, and obviously that's been an issue for us.
With the Bright Futures,
see, she's got a child ready for college. I can tell already. Or looking at college on down the line.
Yeah. Well, he likes really expensive college.
Yeah.
The one that I went to 20 years ago, he's interested in. The Bright Futures, I mean, with the money being cut back on that, does that mean that there's less kids that are eligible for it, or that there's just less money for the kids who are eligible for it now?
The money, you know, actually, you're getting to some pretty heavily debated issues, but the money in the lottery is what funds Bright Futures.
Right.
And actually that money is growing, so there's plenty of money for Bright Futures, I believe. That's my opinion.
Okay.
But obviously there's a lot of pressure on other parts of the budget. But what we've done is, rather than cut Bright Futures, we've increased the criteria by which you can qualify for Bright Futures.
Okay, so they made it harder to get.
It's harder to get, and they've capped some of the dollars going in. I kind of disagree with that. I think it's a little bit unfortunate, and I hope we can get back to more funding Bright Futures to a greater degree.
Have you thought, has our, I'm going to scoot you over because we're gonna get this going.
The grits
here.
look great.
Have you guys thought about maybe funding apprenticeships and having, you know, programs that allow kids to go into trades rather than all college?
Absolutely, and there is a portion of Bright Futures that does go into sort of a vocational type of education. So we are looking at increasing those technical skills, because what we're finding is academia, as great as it is, doesn't always produce job-ready graduates. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of folks, whether it's emerging medical services, technical degrees, medical degrees, that may be technicians. They're in huge demand right now, and there's a shortage of them. And a lot of times you can make more money with those technical degrees, those vocational degrees, than you can with an academic degree. But we do underestimate and underemphasize some of the technical degrees, and we do need to put greater emphasis on there. I used to serve on the Workforce Florida Board, and obviously we not only need to produce young people that are ready for jobs and to meet the needs that we have out in society, but also retraining. I have a college degree. A couple of times I've had to go back and get additional training for the type of jobs I've done. So we know that that's important, not just for the young college students or the young high school grads, but also for adults, especially with technology changing so rapidly, to change your skill sets as the economy changes.
Right. Well, you know, we all have many careers in our life these days.
Yes.
So speaking of different changes of vocations, what I was doing while you were speaking is I coated this pork with mayonnaise. It's my big thing that I do. Everybody who's watched the show knows that's what I do. It's a binder, and it's really good at sticking things on food, and it's kind of tasteless when it cooks. So it works really great. What I did was I dumped 3/4 of a cup of Parmesan and 3/4 a cup of panko, and a little bit of herbs, and they're called finesse herbs, and it's fennel and basil and thyme, has a little lavender flower in it, and it just creates a really nice pork flavor. It accents everything. So I'm gonna.
So you just put enough in there to stick.
It's the same principle as using the egg. The problem is that sometimes when you use eggs and you dredge it in flour and then you do that whole thing, first of all, it's super messy, and I don't like that. Second of all, sometimes it just doesn't stick. So I'm going to let you roll the rest of that.
Oh, excellent.
And then we're going to put it in the pan, and I'm going to stir this while you're doing that.
So just roll the pork. Politician pork,
We'll stick it in the oven. I'm going to stir this, and we're going to take a break. We're going to put the pork in the oven. Now make sure that it reaches 165 on your meat thermometer. Always use a meat thermometer when you're cooking pork. You don't want it overdone. So come on back and join us. We're going to wilt some spinach when we come back and speak with Thad about some of the other committees that he's on.
When we come back to Live with Lori, the conversation lifts off as Senator Altman discusses the space program. Stay tuned.